Hello, my name is Judy Alter, and I am known as the Optimistic BA. And welcome to the beach party. I am imagining that we are all together on a beach. The temperature is a great 75 degrees, no humidity, not a cloud in the sky. We're all having drinks. Someone named Pedro is bringing them to us. So that's kind of my attitude for today's presentation, and I hope that you will enjoy the beach party. I'm only using a few slides, and by looking at the first slide, you can tell that beach is the theme. So I don't really have slides per se for this presentation, but I have given the complete crucial soft skills presentation. So I do have a complete slide deck. Now, if you want those slides, please email me at judy@theoptimisticba.com and just indicate you were at Serendipity, and you will be entered into a drawing for a fabulous prize. There's no question time today, but I will be in the networking lounge if you want to contact me. I'm going to watch the next presentation, but after that, I should be in the lounge. Now, Adrian will enter my email information and a link to my LinkedIn profile in the chat. So you can obtain all of that information there. Now, I am the Optimistic BA because I look at life and business analysis with a glass half full mindset. And that is truly how I live life. Now, I'm going to switch it to a beach theme for the presentation. Many people are enamored by the fancy models and diagrams that people create in the world of business analysis. I am not discounting the hardcore BA skills. I can do them just as good as anyone else, but I do feel the soft skills are more critical. One of the essential skills for a business analyst or a BA is how they work with people. There are not many projects that I've heard of that exist. And in fact, no one has ever been able to tell me about one when I've challenged them when I've been speaking, where a BA doesn't have to communicate with people. Now, I feel that 85% of what a BA does is related to having excellent soft skills. And so I'm going to address today what I feel are the most critical soft skills: communication, elicitation, managing stakeholders, collaboration, and leadership. Now, obviously in my time frame, I'm not going to go through all of these in depth, but I'm going to touch on what I think are the main points. And if you request my slides, then you will understand the rest of it. And then I will throw in today's slide deck too. The basics of communication. If you ever have went out and Googled communication, just do it. And you'll see everybody's written a book about communication, which kind of makes me laugh in a way. But you'll hear the 20 C's, the 12 C's, the 8 C's, the 9 C's, do this, do that. Well, I have boiled it down to the 3 C's. Communication should be concise, clear, and complete. And if you do that, then your communication should be excellent. And it applies both to written and verbal skills. Some people get going on the written communication, which is very important, but really your verbal skills should be just as important. And when I am teaching a new BA, that's one of the first things that I talk to them about is the communication, because I think that helps them really to get started the right way in their career. Now, the foundation to communication is BAs must also be skilled listeners. And that might almost be just as important. I think that kind of lays the the foundation of having just overall great communication skills. And you really need to be listeners so that you can understand what people need. Now, I'll talk later about how you need to be good at asking questions, but you need to listen, and you need to really focus and be quiet on the person that is speaking. You need to listen, and sometimes you can pick up more by facial expressions or posture or body language. And you need to focus on that too, maybe even a little more. But you don't want to interrupt them and start asking questions until they are finished with their point of what they're saying. Particularly if you are working with a newer BA, don't scare them and think that all senior BAs are ugly. You need to make sure that you don't interrupt them or stop them or try to complete their sentences. Wait for a good pause and then ask questions to make sure that you understand what they're telling you. So many times I've listened to somebody and I've listened really good. Well, sometimes maybe that wasn't so great because we were on totally different atmospheres. So you need to make sure you understand. So you listen to understand. Elicitation. In addition to being great communicators, well, BAs also need to be skilled negotiators. Now, one of the main things you need to do is to treat your stakeholders as a person. That will help you to gain their trust and confidence. And the easiest way to do that is to get to know something about them. One of their main interests or sports or something that they follow. If they golf, ask them how their golf game was. Or if they're interested in tennis, just ask them about Wimbledon. That little added touch will help them to really recognize you as a person. And don't be afraid to show your real self either. You don't have to become best friends, or when you used to go to lunch with people, go to lunch 3 times a week or go on a trip with them. But you really need to gain their trust and confidence, and that's how you'll do it the best way that I know. And if you do that, then you will be able to get them to help you help them. And really, that's what it's all about. You need to help them to reach you with their explain their problem and to flush out their requirements. And that's very crucial. Now, at times, you will have stakeholders who are having a conflict that may be threatening the project completion. And on occasion, it could be 2 stakeholders that are arguing with each other, or maybe one stakeholder is just not wanting to sign off on the requirements. And so at times, there might have to be a crucial conversation. And a strong business analyst, especially a senior BA, can conduct a great crucial conversation to resolve the disputes. I have been very successful at resolving conflicts. And to do this, you really need to be calm, logical, not blame anyone, but focus on the process or the issues that need to be resolved. That is very key. Many times in my career, I was able to resolve a conflict. And in the case of a couple new young BAs, I was able to teach them about how you interacted on a team, and that people who had been at the company quite a while, there was probably a reason for that, and they really did know what they were talking about. But those people could also learn from them because they were young. And after that, the relationship on our team was really great. And that's very key. And really, you need to be very calm and logical and focus on the process anyway, because in reality, I don't know of two more emotional occupations than working on projects or working in real estate. They both never go in a straight line on a graph. They're up and down, and everything changes from 20 minutes to 20 minutes. And it always seems like there's a crisis or two. And if you can just remain focused and maybe even use humor to get through the incident, you're much better off. And that's what I always try to tell newer BAs is don't get so caught up in everything. That is very key, because it really, in the scheme of life, it's not worth it. Now, managing stakeholders is another crucial skill. We need to identify the key stakeholder, which is not always the highest ranking one. Now, of course, the sponsor is important. They have the wallet, but really all they want to hear is that the project's going great, no issues. It's going to be delivered early and under budget. Now, of course, we all know that that perfect scenario doesn't usually exist, but that's all they want to know. But there's some stakeholder, probably somewhere in the middle, who really is the one that everybody listens to. And so you need to figure out which stakeholder that is and make sure that you get to know them probably the best. And that way you'll be able to smooth over the any conflicts that come directly from them. And Adrian has a phrase that he uses for stakeholders like that. It's called a stake boulder. And it always makes me laugh. And I talk about it quite a lot in presentations. Now, if your project affects a process or a system, you need to do observations of your end users. Many times the director or the managers will say, oh, you don't need to listen to my people. Just do this. This is what they do, A, B, C, D. And they never want to affect production. They're so focused on losing a minute of time. And honestly, if they would just sacrifice that time one day, they would really make up for it with their project and a very improved process. And so I learned the hard way by having projects fail and by having things not be the way they wanted them when they wouldn't let us do observations. So you need to insist on this and don't let that go. Now you need to be calm, cool, and politically correct as you challenge upper management, but you can do it. And definitely it is for the good of the project. You want to make sure that you know everything they do, because even when we did some observations, I asked them about something. There was something I didn't understand. I had access to their database, but I didn't understand the process. And I said, well, that process doesn't look complete. And they go, oh, well, you must not have Pam's notes. And I was like, oh, what's that? Well, it was the rest of the process. And you run into that more and more if people have been at a company for a long time. And they kind of do part of the process just naturally, or they do it so fast. There was one person, I could hardly even observe her because she moved faster than my mind could even think. I was like, wait a minute, what did you do? And it was kind of funny, but insist on observations. If you take nothing away from this presentation, I hope you take more, but you just really have to do observations. Now, as far as stakeholders, you also need to manage the information you give them, because the higher up they are, the less information they want. If you give them all the details, they are going to get lost in it and not appreciate a bit of it. So usually your end users, your fellow team members, they'll want the most detail. But upper management, just give them the high-level scoop that they want. Collaboration. BAs also need to be collaborators And teams today need to be sports mind. They must be like a sports team and have that mindset. BAs, they need to fill many roles and put the team first. They need to be flexible and pivot when asked. And if they don't have equal skills among team members, they need to do knowledge transfer. Now, growth on a team, that's like a marriage, and it has to grow continuously and not parallel. Now, all team members really need to set aside their egos, and that's at the cost of personal sacrifice. Now, the best example I have involves basketball in the NBA. There were 6 players in the history of the NBA who could play all 5 positions on a basketball team. The list is elite. Wilt Chamberlain, John Havlicek, Scottie Pippen, Kevin Garnett, Magic Johnson, and LeBron James. Now, of those 6, Magic was thought to be the best of all time. He understood he needed to do that to help the team. And during the 1980s, the Lakers, they had their most successful time in the history of the team. And he understood that what he was doing was in the team's best interest. And if you know anything about basketball, to be able to play all 5 positions, that's pretty extraordinary. And so the fact that there's only 6 of all time certainly makes sense to me. And he played on some of the best Lakers teams that they had. And his flexibility, that made them even better. Now, BAs are in a great position to be leaders. Leadership is not a position or a job title. BAs are curious and they know how to ask questions. They're almost like detectives or lawyers. I would not encourage you to be firing off the 5 whys at warp speed with your families or friends, because they tend to get a little upset about that. Great leaders, they also know how to ask questions to help people solve their problems. And they just don't give them answers, but they teach them how to resolve their problems. And BAs are skilled at this because they work on projects all around the company usually. And a lot of times when they start, they have no knowledge of the business domain. And so they're the most adept at working, at asking questions in a way to gain understanding quickly. And think about it. What do they do the most of? Probably lead sessions to elicit requirements. So they're leading a group of people, customers, stakeholders, teammates. And BAs work with many different parts of the organization. And so they know how to make the politics in that organization work for them. Now, they can also help coach other BAs to think outside the box, to innovate, to solve problems. And senior BAs must be trainers, mentors, coaches, and leaders. Now, here's a list of the key takeaways. As I've said before, soft skills are the most important for a BA, and they really need to get to know their customers and stakeholders as people. They need to collaborate and have an athlete's mindset with their team. And they need to manage stakeholders based on the level of as to how much detail to disclose. And they need to follow the 3 C's. And as I stated before, it's important to gain the trust and confidence of your stakeholders. What you also need to do is be sure that you are managing the level of detail to their level, and also follow the 3 C's of communication. And you need to treat each person as if they are the only person in the world at that moment. And that really makes them feel special and will help you to go above and beyond. They will be your friend forever. There's a couple people I know who really have helped me learn this, and it has made a huge difference in my relationships. And now I have what I call a serendipity bonus. I'm a firm believer when bad things happen, the ending can be great. I even have a presentation about that subject, and I've given it both as a breakout session and a keynote. I can't tell all the stories in my time frame, but I will share how I believe and live this way. And actually, it relates to how I became the optimistic VA. I truly think that when anything bad happens, something good is at the end of the rainbow. I survived a pulmonary embolism in 1993, and only 50% of the people who have one survive. Luckily, I didn't know that as I was going through it. But since that day, I have lived life in a lighthearted and positive manner. And anything that upsets me, I use the pulmonary embolism as my benchmark. I ask myself, is this better or worse than a pulmonary embolism? And I have never answered that question yes. So I'm going to refer to my last slide. And I have a challenge to each of you. Are you a positive or optimistic person? Do you get upset about petty things? Is your glass half full? If not, pick a benchmark of the worst thing that has happened. Think of 1 to 3 petty things that upset you and employ my technique. And is what's happening now and upsetting you better or worse than X? Do this several times a day, and I doubt you will ever answer yes. Repeat continuously, and by the end of 2021, you will have your glass at least half full. And you can do the same thing. After I had the pulmonary embolism, I actually had cancer, and that was not even as bad as the pulmonary embolism. So until we meet again, please take my advice. It might seem where you have to concentrate on it at first, but it was life-changing for me, and I hope it can be for you. So until we meet again, please stay positive, optimistic, and keep your glass at least half full. That